Bill Trainer, a souvenir building collector here. I've been collecting, or we've been collecting, my wife and I assembled this collection beginning in the early 1980s. We don't have a specific date I can give you, but I was on business in Europe, and Dixie accompanied me to Paris, and she wanted to bring back a couple of presents for the kids, so she bought pencil sharpeners of, I think it was the Eiffel Tower, maybe the Arc de Triomphe, and of course, the kids accepted them, but they wanted something better, something different. They weren't into buildings, and so they sat around for a while. And I think within that year, Dixie had gone to a tag sale with one of her friends, and she bought Concert Hall, Tivoli Garden, a metal piece. So now she had 3 buildings, and that's a collection, the start of a collection. And incidentally, we've never seen that piece since. That was her 3rd piece, and it's the only time that building is cropped up. I'm sure there are other copies of it around, but I've never seen it on eBay, and I've not seen it in any other collection. So here it is, roughly 28 years later, and I have in the collection that was assembled by my wife and I approximately 2,000 buildings. I have not counted these recently. There's no way to do it. You eyeball them and you forget where you eyeball to begin with. But I've kept a log on how many buildings, or when I acquire buildings, I put the date, what it is, and the price I paid, and where I got it. So I got a good information on that. And I'm up to 2,152, I think, as of last night. And I've traded probably 100 or 50 or 200 out of the collection, and some haven't been logged in. So by that method of math, I arrive at 2,000. But it's not the biggest collection in the world. That's out on the West Coast, but it's a good collection. And it collects dust. I have to dust them once a year. It's sort of random. You know, I put a lot of skyscrapers together on top of a entertainment center. I've got one section following 3 shelves over. You'll see they're all Italian buildings. Some old ones, Grand Tour pieces, and then a lot of modern ones. But other than that, and having one section that's nothing but TV towers because they seem to go good together, it's sort of random. It's where a space shows up, or I'll put color-wise. I like to have a copper one by a silver one, or a brass one, but not have 3 coppers in a row, So it's really a random array. I know where most of these are. If somebody says, do you have X, and where is it, I usually can get to it. So there's no rhyme or reason to most of it. It's just arbitrary on my part. And every collection I've gone to seems to have some element of that. It's just random display. It's the Cartier building, New York City. That's the building that they wrap a red bow around every Christmas. And we acquired that in the one that I prize the most is and it's one of my favorites because I know of nobody else that has it. If 5 more of these crop up in other collections, my degree of favoritism will go down probably. But I like that. It's a good-looking building. It's not spectacular, but it's one of my favorites because nobody else has it. And then there's others that I paid a song for, and they're worth several $100s now. And that's another way of measuring favoritism. And then I like Gothic look buildings. There's a pair of buildings in Chicago that no longer exist. The Women's Christian Temperance Union is a great-looking building. Because it has a Gothic look to it. I also like the Masonic Temple in Chicago. It was torn down. So partly it's look, I'm putting the collection together. Initially we didn't know any other building collectors, so we couldn't trade with anybody. It was going to tag sales, flea markets, some antique shows, travel, where we used to take extra baggage with us to bring buildings back, and that we planned to use as traders as we developed some relationships with other building collectors. And somewhere in the mid-1980s, probably through one of the antique magazines, we saw other people advertising that they were looking for souvenir buildings, and we got in touch with them. There was a fellow down in Texas I'd say over a period of 3 or 4 years, we probably ran into or developed contacts with maybe 10 building collectors, so we did a lot of trading. Then it was more going to antique shows. We thought we were becoming more sophisticated. We were buying more expensive stuff, some of which we overpaid for. But antique shows became a big source of buildings, of the metal buildings. And then it all changed, of course, in the late 1990s with the advent of eBay. You know, the antique shows that don't have as many dealers. And most of the things that I've acquired in recent years have been on eBay. And we talked there about forming some sort of a collectors organization. And then I think the following year we had a session up in Roxbury, Connecticut, where we had another 10 to 15 people. And it became more formal. We've talked about having a newsletter. And then the following year, which I think was 94, we all met again, a bigger group of us, in Pasadena. There we put up some money seed money for the organization. Dixie had volunteered to do a newsletter, and I think the first newsletter was put up in 1994. So we were off and running. You know that. And Dixie did a lot of publicizing of the organization through antique magazines, and that's how we really developed the membership. One of the big things is socializing with other collectors. We met some very nice people. They looked at collections, so you get to see buildings that you don't have. So I think it's the meeting people social. We've met some great people, and looking at other collections is a big part of knowing people in the organization.
For more information about collecting souvenir buildings, check out the Souvenir Building Collectors website. And building collector enthusiasts should also visit the Building Collector blog for news, information, photos, and videos.